sort of kind of, I think, so Sally's given us a good overview of particularly psychological techniques we might be able to use to help try and drive behaviour change within the workplace. And we've touched on some of the organisational issues to do with kind of context and culture, and mentioned process, and we've got some technical factors coming as well. I just wondered, kind of in your experience of people who either in companies where the program's ongoing or through research and so on, what your impression is the extent that psychological techniques, so the kind of ones that Sally's been talking about, are already in use commonly, whether you've seen them used effectively or not, or whether there's glaring holes where they could be used usefully. And also, whether there's other techniques, so through the presentation, are there things that strike you in terms of managerial techniques or things from your own discipline, or technical changes that might help support some of the techniques that Sally's mentioned? So whether it's emotions or subjective norms and so on. And whether anybody has any ideas or cases where they've seen things work particularly well that manage to get good behaviour change, large scale behaviour change. Or there's any tips they can pull out of those to share amongst the group. So that's a little bit rambling, but basically the upshot is, are there any kind of effective techniques that you've seen, are there things that you use yourself which have been particularly effective that we haven't covered and that maybe is useful to talk about at all? And maybe the drink for the first person you go first, yeah.
Well, you can talk about, if people think that partnership is too big, I've never think about it. I mean, this is nothing new, sorry, but giving them more information will produce a positive effect. But sometimes companies will have information saying if you turn off the photocopy of that certain energy to power the whatever for 2 days, whatever. So you can break it down into small bite-sized chunks or digestible information. So there's an immediate perceived saving or quantifiable effect in their life that will result from that. So I guess instead of saying stop climate change, it's an issue. That seems to be in effect, and also refreshing those campaigns every so often so they don't just get bored of seeing them. So change them around into, well, I guess that's what I've seen.
And I think that kind of fits in with some of the what you talked about earlier, in terms of the framing and getting it so specific and means something to the individual. And also when you talk about feedback, specificity and making it rather than big picture.
Yeah. For sure, and so the climate change example is a really good one, I think, because when we think about climate change, it's this massive global issue, and it's not really until you bring it close to home or something that's important to someone that it has an effect or it's going to arouse that emotion. So the example or the research that I did when something was at the organisational level, it's not environmental issues isn't going to arouse as much emotion as if you bring it to someone personally. And so I think thinking about climate change as an issue, you can make it relevant to the person. So we talk about, I said I wasn't going to talk about the weather, a summer of rain being really relevant. Not that I'm saying it's due to climate change, I'm sure there's a lot more climatologists working on that. It'll be a couple of years before we know. But yeah, so if you can make it relevant to the individual and bring it very close to them, then that's going to be much more effective. And it's kind of the imagery Chris Jordan kind of tries to do exactly what you were saying, is bring X number of bottles to something that you can actually tangibly grasp and understand. Yeah.
Well, I guess there's a comparison with the third world. Again, there's a huge level of poverty. What can I do about it? Millions of people affected by it, but you give the person's story, an individual story, and how they're likely to be affected by charitable donation.
Yeah.
Like, on a personal level, so I guess that technique's
yeah, I think there's a lot to learn from looking at marketing and social marketing in other spaces. So I'm not sure that it's really been drawn on to the full extent that it could be.
Hey, I did some stuff with the Green Impact recently. I'm sure quite a few of you have heard about them, the whole green initiative that universities to do things like encourage people to turn up lights and stuff. And they had some interesting ideas actually, things like trying to get people to switch off monitors to take personal responsibility. And one of their ideas was to randomly go in one night and leave balloons on everyone's desk, and you've got a different colour balloon if your monitor in that if it hadn't.
Yeah.
So it kind of, in some sense, like it kind of singled out what people who did bad and left the monitor on, but at the same time you weren't alone, you could see everyone else who'd done it, and at the same time it wasn't like being sat on posters.
Yeah.
So it's, so I think like maybe a bit like things like that is kind of, again, focusing on the individual, pointing it out, but also letting everyone else know as well.
Yeah, sure. I know there's a mining company in Australia who do a very similar thing. They put chocolates on people's desks who have turned off all the appliances.
Which obviously makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's a whole other issue there.
Another thing which I noticed in my organization is, you have to lead the example.
Yeah.
Like most of the time you take a printout one-sided, and what I've started doing, put the cross on the other side, put the paper back and take the printout again. It took, I think, almost 1 month for the other employees to get the notice of it and start using it, but now I can see it has an impact on it. So you have to just by saying it, you can't do it. You have to do it yourself as well.
Yeah.
So that the people are seeing, like it goes for the top management, I think, if the employees are saying that you are doing what you are preaching, then it makes an effect on the
So acting as role models. And
yeah, exactly. So yeah, the research suggests, and the posters that we did as part of this campaign was trying to tap into that modelling behaviour. So yeah, spot on. If you can practice what you preach and really demonstrate that, then it's much more effective than just saying you should do this.
We've got a sort of development program that speaks to the second question that was relatively coming out of our work on sort of HRM, driving, employee behaviours, before starting to look at green HRM, environmental behaviours, predicting environmental performance. Well, at early stages of that, but it strikes me that HRM, green leadership, driving behaviours is a big literature.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the role of climate. Climate's got to be for something.
As in organisational climate?
Well, yeah, lots of climates. Just watching climate service. We're starting to look at environment.
Not weather climate.
We've got enough of that.
Yeah. Have you seen Susan Jackson's work at all? Yeah. So, I work with her and she's doing a lot to try and bring it into HRM. I think I agree with you, particularly like working with the hospital. One of the things they're trying to do is bring sustainability and environmental initiatives into the key performance indicators and into every employee's performance evaluation. But it's challenging to find something that they can do across so many different employees and different contexts within that hospital. But so I think HR has a huge role to play.
I think there's a link in a way to something we were discussing the other day, about the way that in some ways pro-environmental behaviours and sustainable behaviour has been within the workplace seen as this extra role in this that we'd like people to do that isn't maybe taken seriously as health and safety or performance and so on. And we're talking about maybe rather than seeing this particular special case as the chance to bring it back into one of those expected behaviours and treat it like we would do into organisational change or linking with performance metrics and appraisals and so on, and linking it back into what's expected, what's reported, and using those organisational roles and structures to help enforce and prompt that change.
What they really got is involved with extra role.
Yeah.
Because we haven't got an answer yet. Any other insights that you've got on?
Well, I think one of the really important things though is that I think today environmental behaviours hasn't necessarily been driven by top management, so it's been harder to get it into performance indicators or performance reviews, and it kind of gets back to what Chris is saying. If we really want to change behaviour, then it needs to be, maybe we need to change the behaviour first and then the attitude will follow. So for it to go into an in-role behaviour rather than an extra-role behaviour, which is kind of where it sits at the moment.
I guess maybe one of the reasons we've seen less about, we have less insight about how the behaviour change first, or the behaviour first, because the the literature is centred on the household and domestic.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas in the workplace, have much more opportunity to enforce change within the structures that we have. So it's easier for us to look at that than maybe some of the environmental science or home.
Yeah. Much more voluntary behaviour.
That's the I was thinking about. I'm not a psychologist, by the way, but I was thinking back to the late 1970s when inflation was running at 15 to 20% in this country, and there was a big interest in payment systems, reward, those kinds of kind of embedded ways of measuring performance, and also making this link between organisational measures and how it touched the behaviour of individuals on the shop floor, so to speak. And there was a great deal of interest in that time about what you might call global measures of performance. So you have compensation was at an organisational level. And one of the areas of interest was in looking at added value. And it struck me as you were talking that making this link, you could look at the way in which people could contribute to the way value is added in the firm by identifying the bought out goods and services of which energy would be, perhaps a big one, the amount of waste would be another one, all these things would have a kind of environmental. And they're all mainstream things. They're all part of this mainstream managing performance in an organisation. We could single them out to target in particular groups by the measures we already have. Often we run through a financial, but they never take off because people are looking for fashionable things rather than using the management information perhaps we already have. But anyway, that was my thinking.
Well, I totally agree with you. One of the things in designing interventions and working with organisations is not to create more work. So we don't want to, even though in this research project we went and did these elements, we don't want to add that to someone's role to have to go and do that. Or even going and putting chocolates or balloons on people's desks after hours, although it might be an intervention that works, then maybe it's actually adding additional work and it's adding something additional to someone's job. And it's one of the things that I guess we struggle with in the hospital is that people who are really keen to create change are also already have a full-time workload. So if we're looking at equity and work-life balance and everything, we don't want to lump them with an extra job to do, which is going to cause extra stress. And if we're talking about sustainability being a holistic social and environmental issue, that's not going to have the effect that we really want for those individuals. So if we can use measures and management tools that are already in place, then it's going to be much more efficient than trying to add another level. So I'm not sure that actually gets at your point, Richard.
No, I mean, because I'm rather depressed by some of these things because, we never move away from individual performance and we never look at collective performance anyway, very successfully. If you look at what's happened with bank experience, so it's an exemplification of how we fail to understand the way that the measure for individuals twists and can destroy some of those areas. But I suppose my point was at that time people did think about contribution being a collective endeavour. There was a way of thinking, how can we break that down to show the implications of individual actions on that collective endeavour and performance. And I don't think personally, others might know, but I don't think we've made a lot of progress in doing that. But I think that's where some of the answer lies.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I don't know how to get there.
Yeah, just following on with that conversation about the idea that really what you do need people who have a natural passion and a drive to want to make change. And actually, I think what we found in our work, where we're working with organisations who are looking at, for example, reducing their energy output, is that you do find, on the shop floor, there are people who naturally have that passion and who then it isn't necessarily extra effort because it's the motivation and the passion that they communicate with people as part of their role and as part of their everyday job. It's actually identifying those people and capitalising on that imagery really. Using it, especially obviously within the context of their everyday role. The other point I was going to make was about
looking at things holistically, so thinking about not only obviously the individuals and processes and the environment, but also the technology and the role that technology has. So particularly where we've been working with organisations looking at reducing energy, obviously where you can make energy visible and feed that back through some mechanism is really valuable. So we've been working with an organisation who are technical innovators who are creating kind of energy displays to have on a shop floor with an organisation that makes vehicle parts. So these guys can actually see, as part of their day job, if the machine is running over capacity or whatever, and the energy, according to what it should be using energy-wise, it's actually really high, and it shows us a red bar. They've got a visible cue there to actually respond to, and they actually find that really valuable. Interestingly, when we actually interviewed these guys about why it was important to energy save, they actually said it's about job security. It means that if we can save X amount of money, I know my job security. And actually only one of about, I think it was 18 or 20 people we interviewed actually said, well, it's about this, let's save the planet. So that was kind of a bit disappointing in some ways, but I suppose it shows if you can actually tap into what really drives people, what will motivate them to adopt the behaviour you want to see, then that's actually valuable.
At the end of the day, we're pragmatic. It doesn't really matter what we're driving for them is to check that the end result is reducing energy use or emissions.
I think the way you can make things visible, you mentioned earlier about physically showing how many bottles have been say recycled or whatever, having some kind of visible display of that has to create the emotion.
That's the thing. In this country in particular, it's a bit different for you in because I think that water is one of those areas which would really benefit in the home and workplace environment, having that clean, I suppose it's just a sounding rate or you have some idea of what you're using. So it's interesting you were saying about the having people who are champions or really engaged and committed. I think we need to be, I think that's great, I think they have a real role to play. We need to be a little bit careful in terms of how to support them. Some of those bits of research coming out looking at radicals within organisations, so they're swimming against the tide and pushing for the change. The kind of negative effects it can have on their selves, or whether it's their emotional and well-being states or motivation in general. So I think we just need to make sure we're seeing it as something that individuals are choosing to do, we give them that support as well, so they're not left taking all the slack they can, I suppose.
Just think that when sort of work with sort of outside of the art, so you can be familiar with sort of behaviour change. But thinking about your point, there's been a lot of work around the issues like what we call barriers and facilitators to behaviour. So to find out exactly what other things stop them from getting behaviour, or things that might help them to good behaviour. And in that sense, that might be different for different people. So I think one piece of work I'm aware of is ambush behaviour concepts. So you're trying to settings, they might be organisational settings, but there might be that tailoring the intervention or the barriers and facilitators in those areas have a different set of intervention to where you might be willing to behave you want, but also the type of job and role that they have.
Exactly.
To enable.
And it's exactly one of the things that we've been doing is we're running focus groups and interviews with different groups of staff about the barriers and facilitators, as well as the kind of behaviours that they think they can engage in. And it is different depending on where you are in the hospital. So for the clinical staff, it's very different to the administrative staff. And so trying to look at interventions for those different staff as well as for different types of behaviours that they can engage in. But it's a big challenge. And one of the things I know in talking to the sustainability manager at the hospital is they have hand washing champions and lots of interventions around hand washing. So if we can't get people to wash their hands, and that's about saving lives, how are we going to get people to change their behaviour in relation to environmental issues when it doesn't have an immediate impact on their life? So Matt and I were actually talking earlier in the week about the parallel between safety initiatives and safety culture and environmental. And again, it kind of gets down to this safety is about saving lives, whereas environmental, although eventually it might be about saving lives, it's not as immediate, so it doesn't have that same effect. So how can we bring it into the kind of realm where we get that same kind of motivation to engage in that sort of behaviour? But I'm spot on. There's lots of parallels there, and it's something that we're definitely taking into.
I think another key challenge, drawing on what you were saying earlier, is having these green teams and these kind of champions within the workplace. And obviously, they tend to already have the relevant environmental attitudes and values, and I think it's about trying to target other kind of key figures within the organisation and try and bring them involved.
Yeah.
And get these initiatives which have real ownership for the broader range of employees. I know that there's a few initiatives going on regarding travel behaviour, and they've started in a few organisations working on charging people for driving into work now, and then using that money to get discounts on public transport and things like that. But the idea is it's all laid out, it's all been kind of discussed amongst everyone, and it's very clear the rationale and all the rest of it, and that seems to be working. But
Okay, that's
just trying to get this broader number of people involved.
Yeah, definitely. So the engagement and ownership of the staff in the change initiative, for sure. It sounds like where is that going on?
I can't remember, I read it in a report yesterday, I think.
Sounds like a cool initiative. Yeah, I know that the hospital are doing things around incentivising transport, but I think transport is one of the tricky ones when it's stretching the home versus the workplace, and the extent to which the organisation has control or can incentivise that is a challenge. And with the hospital particularly, because they've got so many shift workers and late night workers, the transport is a bit of a tricky issue as well. But that does sound like a cool issue.
I think it's through this inspection I think Max showed it, but there's people washing their hands, say water that had a goldfish in, and as you took the tap on, it went down, and it turned off. It wasn't actually real, but people thought it was basically to save water.
I like that.
I thought of how I would load this slide. If you Google goldfish and taps, I think it becomes a very high. But that had its amazing success rate actually. In the same way as the fly in the urinal.
Oh yeah.
In terms of getting people to make sure they aim and they don't make a mess and need more detergent to clean floors and so on. So very simple but fun invention have quite an effect as well. I think if we probably draw things to a close there. I'd like to thank Sally again for making this huge effort to come over and join us for this month, and particularly to put the talk on tonight, and we kept busy early doing the PhD session as well. And if we can all try and do one more green thing this week, it might help offset the flight as well. If you haven't made up notes, technology permitting, a video of this will be on our website, Socio-Technical Centre.org, from probably Friday. And there's a few other video clips as well as some of the other people within the network talking about some of their research and ideas, and we're going to try to add to that over the next couple of months or so. And if anybody's going to Boston, the Academy Management meeting, we have 2 sessions on there, and there's more details on our website. So if we can just thank Sally very much for entertaining the talk.
And thank you for your attention and contribution.